Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
Hi everybody, it's a lockdown live stream. We're not in lockdown yet in the UK, but I am by choice because I'm being diligent. We all should be. Hi everybody in the chat. Hi Nigel Solers. Hi Sprung Spa. Evening to you. Cabby Mark says hello Gordon Dimmack. Yep, lockdown here in California. Good on you, Cabby. Stay safe. Stay safe. Jamming out, I see, says Nigel Solers. Honestly, if you would have seen me today, I went to sleep today. I had a nap this afternoon. I was so tired. But yeah, I've been doing more than jamming out. I'm going a little bit stir crazy, to be honest. I'm not the only one. Where you all from, everybody? Whereabouts in the world are you? Tell me where you are in the chat. Chris Cox says, looking on the bright side, 9 out of 10 COVID-19 fatality victims are Tory vets. Come on, these are your fellow human beings. These are your fellow countrymen and women, you know? It doesn't matter who they vote for. You still get the government. Let's not demonise them just because they vote a different way to you. Pressure Boris Johnson says, Nigel. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to be talking about that tonight. Sainsbury's have lockdown prices, say Charlie. Good. Does that mean they're not going to be price gouging? Dickie Hand says he's from London. Stay safe down in London. Avoid the underground if you can. In London, it's going to be a hotbed for... I saw a video of somebody licking a railing and then putting the glove back on the other day, which was disgusting. Rupert Fellow says hello from England. Jimbo Jones from Ayrshire. Jersey says Anthony Ray's dirty Jersey. Yeah, the home of the double Dutch sandwich. Jersey. One of those countries they're all dodging tax with, wasn't it? All those islands, all those territories. Nottingham says Jolly Ollie. Manchester for Sam Sanson. Hello to you all. Yeah, we're on lockdown, everybody. Well, at least I am. We're not officially on lockdown in this country, but I think most people have locked down. You only need to look at the shelves in the supermarket to see that people have really started to prepare themselves for this. Although in a very stupid way. I'm hoping the sound is okay, everybody. I had a problem with the sound the other day, with my sound sort of going in and out. It was a little bit... I'm hoping that the setting that I've changed on this microphone has moved that one to the other side, and it messed up the sound, apparently. Sound is fine, says people are going... okay, good. Do you have enough toilet paper, says Dickie Hands. No, I don't. I have one roll in my bathroom. One roll of toilet paper. That's all I've got. You can wash your arsehole. The French do it. They call it a bidet. You don't need toilet paper. You need to stock up on that. I would have suggested stocking up on, you know, cleaning products more than anything, rather than toilet paper. People in motorhomes in Spain can't get home, says Charlie. There are lots of people trapped abroad. A member of my family is actually trapped abroad trying to get home at the moment. It's a nightmare for some people, especially if they've gone abroad, because this, you know, they didn't really prepare for this very good. They've known for a good few weeks that this was going to be a problem, but Basingstoke, where JP Morgan have relocated their London workforce, says Liam Bobrick. JP Morgan have relocated their London. Maybe you can get a job there after all this, Liam. I've turned my bathroom into a bidet, says Brilliant Wonderful. And Carrie Mark says some of the schools here may not reopen this year. I don't think it'll be that bad, Carrie, but I certainly think they will be closed for a while. They haven't closed the schools down over here. I understand why, actually. I can see why people are upset about it, but I also understand why they haven't closed them down. I'll go through it in a bit. With regards to, by the way, somebody mentioned in the chat, find it, so you don't call me a liar. Can't find it now. Somebody mentioned, have you sorted your curry outlet? Tomorrow. I'm gonna do a live stream tomorrow, everybody. I'm gonna do a live stream of me cooking my curry. It's nothing special. I do have a curry paste that I do use, but I'm going to cook it in a way tomorrow, my old school way, which is easier. So if you've got any goldfish curry paste, pick up some goldfish curry paste and one of the hot and spicy ones, the normal one and the hot and spicy one as well. And yeah, I'll go through my curry a la gourd, chicken curry a la gourd tomorrow. I'm gonna enjoy that. Bollocks to it. I can't do anything else. I'm gonna go stir crazy if I'm inside this flat 24/7 with nothing else to do and nobody to talk to but her. Yes, you. You looking at me for that? Huh? You looking at me for? We're on lockdown, aren't we, else? Hey? We're on lockdown, aren't we? Come here, then. Got my ball? Got my ball? She's going stir crazy. We haven't even been out for a walk today. We haven't even been out for a walk today because I had a nap. Bless her. Right, let's get into this. We need to update. Okay, it's day 2 of my sort of self-isolation. I am not showing any symptoms yet, but people can have this virus without showing any symptoms, so I'm being careful, locking myself down, keeping my distance from everybody, and I suggest that you do too. This is a serious virus. Worldwide, there are 191,000 cases now worldwide, and that's just what's identified. So, you know, people aren't getting tested. The World Health Organization yesterday were doing a press conference and the guy was saying test, and the countries aren't doing it. They haven't got the tests, etc. They've been stretched. They've been caught cold by this. But there's 191,000 confirmed cases, I suggest, worldwide. That's well over 1 million. It's in the millions, let's face it. That's just the people who've been tested. And 7,500 deaths so far. That's 7,500 people plus that have died from this already. And that's not counting the people that are obviously going to be dying from other illnesses during this period because they're not getting the attention they deserve because everybody's swamped by this coronavirus. 163 countries have had confirmed cases. People are having to take extreme measures. Countries are having to take extreme measures to try and contain the virus and stop the spread. For instance, Iran have released 85,000 visitors today. Iran, who are under crippling sanctions from us and the Americans, which means that they can't even get medical supplies. We have to put pressure on our governments and our ruling elite to stop this shit, to stop, at least press pause on the sanctions. This is fucking incredible. But no, they're obviously using it as a way to get their way and to turn the screw even more, aren't they? While all these people die over in these countries that we're sanctioning. Stay at home if you can. This is the latest advice from the BBC. Yes, propaganda is good. Sometimes, especially during war, which is what this is. It's a war on a virus. This is what the latest UK advice means, everybody. This is pretty good. I saw this earlier. Check it out.
The British government's brought in a bunch of new measures in order to stop the coronavirus.
Without drastic action, cases could double every 5 or 6 days.
Number 1, no more non-essential contact with other people. No more visiting friends or family unless it's absolutely necessary. You shouldn't travel either unless it's essential. Number 2, no going to work. You should start working from home if possible. Now, not everyone can do that, but you should do if you can. Number 3, avoid places like pubs, clubs and theatres. These won't be forced to close down, but the government could do that if necessary. Number 4, mass gatherings. Mass gatherings like sporting events and festivals, they're no longer going to be staffed by healthcare workers. They're all needed to help the NHS deal with coronavirus patients. Number 5. If you have the symptoms of coronavirus, a new persistent cough or a fever, you'll now have to stay at home with everyone you live with for 14 days. That's 2 weeks. If you live alone, it's only 7 days.
If possible, you should not go out even to buy food or essentials.
Number 6, don't use the NHS if you don't have to. Already under a lot of pressure, and the fewer people who need to use it, the better it will be able to cope with this coronavirus workload.
I know that we are today asking a lot of everybody. This is far more now than just washing your hands, though clearly washing your hands remains important.
So that's the latest advice from the BBC, from the government. The government has changed course a little bit today. This is the latest on the BBC website. They're saying that the UK changes course. Change course, or 250,000 people will die in a, quote, catastrophic epidemic of coronavirus. Warnings do not come much darker than that. The message came from researchers modelling how the disease will spread, how the NHS would be overwhelmed and how many would die. The situation has shifted dramatically, and as a result we are now facing the most profound changes in our daily lives in peacetime. This is the worst crisis since World War II. Simple as that. The realisation has happened only in the past few days. However, it is long after other scientists and the WHO had warned of the risks of not going all out to stop the virus. Of course, we've been talking about this for weeks. The crucial piece of evidence came from the scientists at Imperial College London, who first realised the scale of the problem in China and whose advice is heavily influential in government. They assessed 3 strategies. So this is the change of tack from the government. This is what they're suggesting. You've got 3 options. Break chains of transmission, effectively trying to stop the epidemic in its tracks and bring cases down as low as possible, as China has done. That's the first option. Second one is mitigation, except you cannot stop the coronavirus to slow its spread and prevent the massive peak in cases that would overwhelm the NHS, whilst trying to prevent those most risk from severe disease, which appeared to be the UK strategy last week. And the third option is to do nothing and let the virus rip through the population. It was only on Friday that Sir Patrick Vallance, the chief scientific advisor, explained the mitigation plans to the BBC. He said, quote, "Our aim is to try and reduce the peak, broaden the peak, not suppress it completely. Also, because the vast majority of people get a mild illness, to build up some kind of herd immunity, so more people are immune to the disease. This has caused widespread, questioning, because people are like, oh, we don't want to get it. This is the thing with this virus. We're going to get it, okay? It's no use saying, oh, we don't want to get it. We're going to get it. It's just a case of we're going to have to really look after the people who are most vulnerable, the old, etc. Kids don't get it as much, which is why the kids haven't, the schools haven't closed right now. And also, we can't stop this virus. It'll be like trying to stop the wind. So it's all about managing the outbreak of it. Kids, we want them to get it first if possible, because they're least affected by it and build up an immunity to it quicker. That's why the schools are still open. And obviously, of course, nurses who are needed in the NHS badly during this time, a lot of them have children. If we close the schools, then guess what? Chances are the kids who are going to be susceptible for the virus and they become carriers of it, they're going to be taken care of by who? Yeah, the grandparents. Because the nurses are at work. You can see the problems that people are facing here and the decisions that need to be made. Let's quickly go on to the NHS website to give you the advice from the NHS. Stay at home if you have coronavirus symptoms, that they are still saying. How long to stay at home? We've already heard from the BBC, 7 days if you have the symptoms, 14 if you're actually with people, 7 if you're on your own. How to avoid catching and spreading coronavirus? Obviously, practice social distancing, wash your hands, etc., etc. I don't need to go through this. We know how it's spread because it's spread in the air. It's not necessarily just touch. And the travel advice there, obviously, get a home from abroad if you can. And then we go on to the treatments. I'll leave that. Actually, I'm just going to put that in the chat now for everybody to go and have a look. When you're looking at what to do and taking advice, etc., go to the professionals, go to the NHS. Don't listen to the media on this. Don't listen to Caprice, for Christ's sake. She was trending on Twitter yesterday because she literally had an argument on TV with a health expert, an expert on this, a doctor. She was having an argument with her over, the schools closures, etc. A model arguing with a health professional on national TV. That's what we've come to, a model arguing with a health professional over what is the best thing to do for the health of the country. That's what happens on TV, everybody. That's how low they're going right now. There's obviously a great strain on the economy at the moment. Laura Ashley have announced that they're going into administration as a result of this coronavirus. That's going to cost a shitload of jobs. Dixon's warehouse, Dixon's car, the people who own the Carphone warehouse, have announced they're shutting all of their Carphone warehouses that just deal in the phone business. That's going to be 3,000 jobs that are lost straight away just from that chain. They are estimating that there's going to be around 20,000 deaths in this country, and the government, as a result, to safeguard jobs, so they say, are releasing a £330 billion care package for businesses. 330 billion. Austerity was a con, everybody. They found the magic money tree when they need it. They need it for, emergencies. It's there. They just print it. They press a button. Boop! £330 billion. There you go. Go and use that if you need it. Austerity was a con. They could have invested in social services. They could have invested in transport and public transport. They could have invested in the economy themselves, but they didn't. Why? Because austerity was a con, and the financial system is built on, well, it's kept afloat by ignorance and wishful thinking. I'll come to that later. The government have announced that there's going to be this care package, so that there's going to be a delay in mortgage payments. People won't have to pay their mortgages. To which I say, well, what about the private people who are renting from private landlords? And they've said, oh, they'll be able to get a loan. Great, they'll be able to get a loan that they can get into even more debt and pay back later. You assholes. Give people money. Give people a UBI. This is going to last months. Trump was saying it might last until July and August yesterday in his press conference. People need to survive. Boris Johnson and the government. They need to make sure that they've got money and they're not going to starve. And their children aren't going to starve. This virus is here to kill us, everybody. And the reason this virus is here to kill us is the same reason we have a ridiculous global financial system. The virus is here to kill us because of ignorance, our own ignorance and wishful thinking. We've ignored warnings from experts for decades. And we've just practiced wishful thinking that, oh, don't worry, this sort of shit won't happen to us. Our overuse of antibiotics has caused this sort of thing and will cause this sort of thing being more frequent in the future because we've overused antibiotics. Using antibiotics for, common colds, the flu, etc., of which they have no effect on. They're only there actually for infections, antibiotics, gum infections, tooth infections, etc. And as a result, we've built up an immunity to them, and antibiotics now are not effective enough on people who are as effective as they were. like I say, ignorance and wishful thinking. And then you've got the rise of ignorance with the anti-vaxxers who say, no, our children shouldn't be vaccinated against all these things. It's a government con. Their children don't get vaccinated, and therefore they put the rest of the community at risk. I suggest if you're an anti-vaxxer, and if there are a load of anti-vaxxers out there that don't want to immunise their children against the diseases that can affect the rest of us, then you know what you all should do? You all should go to your own fucking town where you're not going to infect the rest of us. And you can all be in your own town, and if you don't want to vaccinate your children, there you go, you all live there. And in about 30 years, that town will be non-existent and nobody will want to go there, because guess what? Your kids will have all died from measles and mumps and rubella, etc. Ignorance and wishful thinking is causing this. Our experts have been saying we need to safeguard against these viruses. It's a virus that's going to come to get us. And guess what? This virus is here to kill us. It's here to kill the weakest among us. Some would say that we deserve this crap. But as usual, it's the poorest and the weakest among us that are going to actually suffer. Not the rich narcissistic bastards that cause it and can do something about it. We have brought this upon ourselves through ignorance and wishful thinking because we have a capitalist system that rewards people who are absolute assholes and cut corners as much as possible. It rewards them. I'll come to that in a minute as well. Our endless preoccupation with consumerism that drives the capitalist system is going to be our downfall. You can't have endless consumption on a finite planet, a planet with finite resources. You can't. We're going to have to rapidly and radically change the way we live to be able to get through this. We need to all pull together. We need to reach out to our community. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I'm going to be sending letters out to everybody in my street. If you need anything, let me know. Or if you've got anything, let me know, and we can perhaps create some sort of hub for our community that can help. There's a lot of old people who live in my road. Suggest you do too. Take advantage of social media. Create as many groups as possible. I'm going to be throwing stuff out in the front garden tomorrow with a big note on it, free to a good home if you need it. You know, I've got a wardrobe, I've got a sofa, etc. Not just food. Be nice to each other. Come together, fight through this. We can really help each other. We can get through this if we do help each other. Remember that. And above all, be kind. Be kind to each other. We need to get by on the facts here as well. Listen to the science. We cannot afford to be ignorant or to practice wishful thinking with this virus, because wishful thinking is going to get a lot of people fucking killed. Listen to the science, everybody. Not to the idiots on Twitter who all think they're bloody experts. You know what I'm talking about. Hi, everyone. All governments are liars, says Rupert Fellows. I could not agree with you enough. I got measles, chicken pox, mumps and German measles as a child. I'm now 63, says Ancient Mariner. Never seen a guy panic this much. If you're vaccinated, why worry if I am? Says Mr. Furt. I'm not panicking, mate. I'm not panicking. I'm telling you, be calm. Listen to the science. I'm telling you, be calm. I'm not panicking. I'm preparing. Karen M says, people are really cranky today, I've noticed. Everyone needs to chill. You're absolutely right, Karen. You're absolutely right. You know, we live in the capitalist system, and a capitalist system, you know, it is built so the most narcissistic and sociopathic amongst us rise to the top and get all the money and rise to positions of power. Well, we're facing this epidemic at the moment, and you look to these people to help. You know, these people who've made a shitload off the system by being the most narcissistic and sociopathic. And, well, it's not surprising what you get in response. Here's Richard Branson. Here he is. Make my image a little bit smaller. Virgin Atlantic says it plans to ground 75% of its fleet by March 26th, adding staff will be asked to take 8 weeks unpaid leave during the next 3 months. So in the next 3 months, they'll be asked for 2 months of that, take unpaid leave. He's a multi-billionaire, Richard Branson is. My niece works for Virgin. She's a trolley dolly. She's literally just got back to work because of an illness in her family. And now she's faced with this. No help from Richard Branson. No help from the richest among us. They actually want handouts. He wants a $7.5 billion pound handout to the airlines. That's what he wants. He wants more from the government. He's not reaching into his pocket to try and help people. Here's another bastard. Somebody said this to Alan Sugar. Get your finger out and help. People like you are great at putting your orders out. Get your money out and help. That's what he's saying to him. Get your money out and help, Richard. Fuck off. That's Alan Sugar's response. F off. With regards to Richard Branson, Toby said this: 2 months without wages. Virgin Atlantic has about 9,000 staff. Richard Branson could personally pay all of these staff £500 a week, and his net worth would fall from 4.1 billion to 4.06 billion. His net worth would fall by 0.88%. If you had £20, that would be a loss of 17.6 pence. And instead of him doing that, instead of him reaching into his pocket and losing a little bit of his wealth, take some leave. You don't get money. Unpaid leave for you, pleb. And by the way, government, can you give us £7.5 billion to bail us out, please? This is what happens in a capitalistic system. This is what happens. The most narcissistic and sociopathic amongst us, the most evil amongst us, the people who can cut corners the most and gain the most capital to reinvest. They're the people who rise to positions of power. They're the people who get to be the richest in society. And then when problems like this happen, because they're narcissistic and sociopathic, like Richard Branson and Alan Sugar, when the chips are down, it's fuck you, pal, you're on your own. It's not just them two. Look at Amazon. We're going to be relying on Amazon for the next few weeks. He's going to love it. He's going to make even more money, Jeff Bezos. Amazon. Staff told to work overtime as virus spikes demand. Got to work overtime. Do you think they're going to be getting, extra money? Do you think they're going to be getting, well paid by Bezos? Or do you think it's going to be minimum wage? Do you think it's going to be slave labour? Do you think it's going to be minimum wage? Do you think they're going to be fucking pissing into Coke bottles because they can't take a toilet break? That's what we're facing, everybody. That's what we've come to. The system that we have is fucking not fit for purpose, and it needs to be thrown overboard. We've got a perfect opportunity right now to press pause on the planet and say, hold on a minute, this is a little bit messed up. Can we, start again? We'll see going forward. Certainly in America, it's not going to happen, I don't think. Not anytime soon. You see what's happening over there. You know, they've got a DNC primary going on in America right now. A primary. Tom Perez is telling people, go out and vote, but stay safe. It's telling older people, go out and vote. You might catch COVID-19 and die, but stay safe. Go out and vote. My mate Misty. That awkward moment when you realise ISIS cares more about its people than the DNC cares about its voters. Yeah. ISIS is saying to the terrorists, don't vote, don't travel to Europe, you might catch this disease. The DNC, Tom Perez, are saying, go out and vote! ISIS cares more about its people than the DNC cares about theirs. That really says it all, doesn't it? Tom Perez, you need to resign. You should have never been given that position in the first place. The only reason he got it was because Barack Obama put his thumb on the scale, because Keith Ellison looked like he was going to get it. And they are closing polling places in poor areas to crowd the poor into longer lines, says Brilliant Wonderful. It's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah, we've got a pandemic on our hands at the moment. Let's close all the poll stations so people who do vote, they're all crowded together in a crowded space. Let's not spread it out and try and spread the chance of the disease spreading out. No. Let's close everything so there's less places, so the people who do go out and vote that we're telling them to do, they've got more likelihood of being infected, and obviously at some stage, you've got to look at what's going on over there with the DNC and say, yeah, this isn't incompetence, this is planned. You can't be this incompetent. This is something that you have to work at. So, you know, for the last, I'm going to change tact a little bit. Story that isn't about the COVID-19 virus. Regular viewers of this channel will know that for nearly 4 years I've been screaming that Russiagate is absolute bullshit. Russiagate, the theory that Russian bots were the things that led to Donald Trump's election, it's all rubbish. Been saying it for 4 years. Finally, people are catching on. Another nail in Russiagate coffin, says Malinka. US is dropping the much hyped indictment for election meddling against a company supposedly behind the so-called Russian troll farm. Here it is. That's the indictment, and they're dropping it. Context. The shell companies Concord Management and Concord Consulting were charged by Special Counsel Robert Mueller in 2018, along with 13 Russian individuals and the troll farm itself, known as the Internet Research Agency. The scheme, outlined in the 2018 indictment and again in the Mueller report, sought to sow political discord ahead of the 2016 election. They have dropped it. They have dropped the case. It is Dunsky. An excerpt from it. Upon careful consideration of all the circumstances, and particularly in light of recent events and the change in the balance of the government's proof due to a classification determination, it says, as well as other facts described in more detail in a classified addendum to this motion. So the reason it's secret, the government has concluded that further proceedings as to Concord, a Russian company with no presence in the United States and no exposure to meaningful punishment in the event of a conviction, promotes neither the interests of justice nor this nation's security. The government has therefore decided the calculation of whether a substantial federal interest is served by this prosecution has changed since the indictment was returned, and the better course is to cease litigation of it. We said at the time it's a waste of time indicting the Internet Research Agency. It's a waste of time indicting these people over in Russia. They're never going to see the inside of a courtroom. And these indictments were obviously something that was going to bolster this Russiagate narrative up that we know is rubbish. And now we're seeing it all fall apart. And I'm going to put my neck on the line and say we're going to see it fall apart more and more over the months. I've documented how people are working behind the scenes. You know, intelligence officials, people like Bill Binney, etc., are working behind the scenes to actually bring the truth out about this Russiagate. And I'm hoping that we're going to hear it. It's not going to be swept under the rug. We'll see. The jury's out on as to whether that will happen. One thing's for certain, this Russiagate case is falling apart and has been falling apart for several years. Ever since they actually presented it, to be quite honest, it's been absolute nonsense. I knew it was bullshit from the start. And I'm just a guy in a council flat in the Midlands in the UK. If I know it's if it's bullshit from the start, then I guarantee you they do. And I guarantee you the media do as well. Which tells you the fact that they've been pushing it, they've been propagandising you because they know it's BS. Journalists have either willfully or either been willfully ignorant on the Russiagate saga, or completely wrong because they're sycophantic suck-ups to the establishment and they don't question anything the establishment and the government says to them. And I'm really hoping that they will see consequences in the coming months and maybe year or two. And they lose their jobs and their livelihoods, etc., because, you know, they led us into a war that killed 1 million people, more than 1 million people in Iraq, and they faced no consequences whatsoever for it. And it's not just that war, it's what came out of it as well. You know, the Patriot Act, allowing America to go around and cause all these bloody wars around the world, these regime change wars with obviously the UK and their puppy dog. Yes, America, how can we help? It's pathetic what we've become in the United Kingdom. Pathetic. Just running around, holding on to the United Kingdom, the United States coattails while they go off and try regime change wars all around the world based on lies. Now, foreign secretaries out there saying, "Oh, we're going to follow the United States." It really is pathetic what we have become to. What has happened to us, the United Kingdom? What has happened to Great Britain? Why do we have to follow a fucking fascist right-wing government into wars around the world? And I'm not just saying that was Trump, by the way, because there's elements of fascism with Obama. Obama took 2 wars and made them 7, and we followed them into them all. Even though our government said, no, we don't want to. Nah, we went into Libya anyway. I hope there will be consequences for the people who pushed Russiagate. And I'm hoping that you will help me do it and help me remind all of those journalists who are going to be proved wrong in the next 6 months, if there is any justice, just how wrong they were. And just how their willful ignorance and how them being sycophantic suck-ups to the establishment has actually put us into a position that is going to cost lives. Put us into a position where there's that much anti-Russian sentiment now in the people. You don't know. They're so misinformed. You've failed in your duties to the fourth estate, media. And I, for one, am looking forward to the day where your entire construct crumbles to dust. You sicken me. It was bullshit from the very start. Russiagate was a guy who's got the equivalent of 3 O-levels who was scraping by, paying bills month to month, living month to month off people's generous donations. Even he could get it right when all you professionals got it wrong. And I'm hoping that you're going to face the consequences that you bloody should. Great news, everybody. Moving on from that. Great news, everybody. Fantastic news, this is. We're killing civilians in Syria. Yes, the United Kingdom are responsible for killing Syrians in Syria. It says this in the BBC, on the BBC website. Islamic State, US military says RAF airstrikes may have killed civilians. RAF airstrikes. Do you remember us declaring war on Syria, everybody? Do you remember a vote in Parliament to bomb Syria? No, I don't either. What the fuck has happened to us? If our military wants to go bombing countries around the world, don't you think our government should have a fucking vote on it first? Killing severe. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I'll read a little bit of this to see what the BBC say. There is credible evidence British airstrikes against the Islamic State group have killed civilians in Iraq and Syria, the US military has said. The Ministry of Defence has continued to deny American reports that some RAF airstrikes against IS has harmed civilians. Yes, they're just denying it. Apparently, according to all the airstrikes that we've been doing over the last, 7 years in this regime change war in Syria that the government didn't vote on, I'll come to that in a minute, apparently we've only killed one civilian. How many lies? How many lies are you going to tell? How many lies are our media going to fucking believe? We've killed thousands. The RAF has deployed 4,409 bombs and missiles in the 5-year war with Islamic State. That's just what they admit to. 4,409 bombs. Did any of those bombs have permission to be fucking sent? None. We haven't declared war on Syria. Why are we there? Is Syria a threat to us? Is Syria a threat to our national sovereignty? Why are we killing civilians over there then? Civilians who have families, who will then, no doubt, all be pissed off at the United Kingdom, pick up a fucking weapon and want to come over here and do a terrorist attack because that's the only thing left to them to try and get some retaliations, try and get some closure. We're creating terrorists and saying we're doing it to fight terrorism. Are you fucking kidding me? The MOD's approach to identifying civilian casualties has been described as, quote, not fit for purpose. Of course it is. They don't admit to it. The Americans is just as bad. They admit to the casualties, but just say, no, if you're a man, if you're over 14, you're a terrorist. That's how they identify them. So if you're an 80-year-old farmer who gets killed in collateral damage, he's a terrorist. He's a man over the age of 14. I won't talk about any more of this because it's winding me up. But you can see my point. Why the fuck are we still in Syria? Why? And when are our media going to tell the truth about it? When was the last time you saw anybody on our media on the BBC mention Operation Timber fucking Sycamore? Anybody? Can anybody put me to the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV educating their people to say this is all Timber Sycamore? This is Operation Timber Sycamore. Yeah, this is what America started in 2012, trying to overthrow the regime of Assad in a regime change war that we did not fucking authorise. That we have gone in with America and gone, yes, we'll... How can we help you, America? Like the lapdogs that we are. Timber Sycamore, say it, BBC. Fucking say it. Tell your people, yeah, we're doing this because America wants some regime change and we're following them fucking everywhere. It doesn't matter what our parliament thinks. You think our parliament has got control over war? No, don't be stupid. You haven't got a democracy. Did you know that? This is what's really happening. There was no mention of Operation Timber Sycamore or regime change wars on that BBC article I've just showed you. Not surprising. We're America's little bitches. That's what we are in the United Kingdom. America's little bitches. We've got one of the best fighting forces in the world. We really have. And it has been wasted following the Yanks into their regime change wars so their people can carry on consuming like cattle. Like fucking cattle. Consume. We'll go off and we'll bomb all these wars. We'll get regime change in Syria. Why? Because you want cheap gas and oil. That's why. You just keep eating, keep consuming. Do you remember what George Bush said after 9/11? Go out, spend, spend. Well, this is the shit that goes on. So you can carry on having 17 different flavours of Doritos and your oil and the gas in your fucking fuel tank is cheaper than the water that you buy in a bottle. This is why. This is why the oil industry is subsidised to the trillions of pounds or dollars around the world. So you can have cheap shit. It's got to change. It's got to change. And it's got to change soon. Hopefully something good will come from this virus and we'll realise it. My fear is that we'll use this virus as a reason to actually do more of these regime change wars around the world. And to infringe on your rights and your free speech and your freedom of prayer or your rights to a free press. That's my fear. They're going to come down on me even more. Make a noise. We're still bombing Syria. We're still killing innocent people in Syria. With your money. Doesn't it make you proud to be British? Who should we bomb next? Next, Trump? They're down there. Honestly, they're down there right now saying Donald Trump, oh my God, it's a game show host and it's ridiculous. Oh, where do you want us to bomb next, Trump? Where do you want us to bomb next? You turn out Her Majesty's Navy into fucking pirates. Not so long ago, stealing Syria's oil tanker. And do you think our media are talking about this? No, of course not. Of course not. They're asking the safe questions. We're in the middle of a fucking pandemic and they're bombing Syria still. You know the countries that are suffering the most? The war-torn countries. The countries under crippling sanctions, like Iran and Syria. And then we're still bombing them? Can't you at least press the fucking pause button on regime change wars until, we've sorted out the pandemic? Racism doesn't help during this time, everybody. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. And racism and blame does not help. And who's the person who's been racist and blaming shit? Oh yeah, it's Donald Trump, of course. Beijing opposes Trump's use of the words Chinese virus. Yeah, he's not calling it the COVID-19 or anything like that. He's calling it, look, the Chinese virus. Blaming China, demonising China. We've blamed Russia for the last, 4 years. Let's go and blame China now. Meanwhile, while we're blaming China and our media and your president over in America and what have you are demonising China, Italy is in they've got a severe problem at the moment. They're the worst facing this virus. They're the worst affected in Europe. People, doctors having to take decisions as to whether that 85-year-old who could live if you gave a ventilator, or the 40-year-old who you could live gave a ventilator to. They're having to consign the 85-year-old to death because they haven't got enough ventilators, and the 40-year-old has got more years left than the 85-year-old. That's the sort of decision that they're having to make over there, the doctors. It's like 28 days later. Well, China are sending them supplies to help. We're not. We haven't got enough. China, they're sorting it and helping other countries now. They've sorted their own country. Now they're helping other countries. A plane load of medical supplies, including masks and respirators, has arrived in Italy from China to help deal with its growing coronavirus crisis. This is Reuters. The coronavirus outbreak began in China late last year, but has since swept the globe. Italy is now the worst affected nation in the world after China, with 1,016 dead and 15,000 confirmed cases. A team of 9 Chinese medical staff arrived late on Thursday with some 30 tons of equipment. 30 tons! Quote, in this moment of great stress, of great difficulty, we are relieved to have this arrival of supplies. It is true that we will help only temporarily, but it is still important, said the head of the Italian Red Cross, Francesco Rocca. We have a desperate need for these masks right now. We need respirators that the Red Cross will donate to the government. This is for sure a really important donation for our country. The outbreak risks overwhelming Italian hospitals, and some key supplies are running low. In contrast to China, Italy's partners in the European Union early this month refused Rome's request for help with medical supplies as they look to stockpile face masks and other equipment to help their own citizens. That's what we've been doing. We've been saying, screw you, Italy. Yeah, we need them for our own because we haven't prepared for it, and our governments are shit. China, on the other hand, they're like, yeah, we've been through this. We know what you need. Here, let us bring 30 tons of shit for you to sort out. Let's bring 30 tons of equipment for you to save lives. That's what China are saying. Donald Trump, demonizing them. Chinese virus. We are ruled by sociopaths. Less racism, please, everybody. More help. Well done, China. Well done, China. We're doomed, everybody. We're doomed. Look at how look at how we're not coping with this compared to the way China are doing things. Super chats, super chats, super chats. Snorky 2K. Hi Snorky, reminds me of George Michael's Shoot the Dog. I'm not aware of that one, mate. Must be one of his later songs. Like his earlier stuff. A little bit of faith, the faith, the faith. I gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. The main plan is to wage World War III, US versus China. CIA are behind COVID biological warfare. Look it up, Gordon. They created this virus over in America, says Darren Levy. I understand people saying this shit and it's a bioweapon, etc., etc. But you know what, Darren? I have seen no proof of that right now. And what I know is this is going to kill people worldwide. So at the moment, I'm not looking at it, whether it's a bioweapon as who is at fault for it and what have you. I'm looking at it that this is a virus that has morphed, that has jumped from animals to humans, and I'm looking at it as if it's our own fucking fault. And whether this is man-made or not, we should be protected against it already. And it's only our own ignorance that has caused this, whether it be the ignorance with regards to, you know, vaccinations, etc., and our ignorance with regards to using antibiotics and overusing them so they don't have effect now. That's more likely, if you actually look at it, than being a bioweapon. But even so, if it is a bioweapon, then we need proof of it. We need to find out who it was. And I've seen no proof of that. I've seen a lot of people saying shit. And that's not helping. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help people at home, you know, prepare for it. It's not going to help people recover from it. It's not going to help them, do the right things by blaming people with no. I understand that the timing is really worrying. The timing is very, very iffy, and I get why people are saying that. But my focus at the moment is just to try and help and try and say, listen, people, this is the way it is. This is what they're saying. This is what we need to do, and we need to come together to get this. But because it is clear that we are fucking on our own in this, we're going to get very little help from the government. They're bailing out mortgages, they're bailing out banks and what have you. They won't get to thinking about the people until this crisis is fucking over and done with. Why we need a new government. Thanks for the super chat, Darren. I hope I explained why I'm not going down that route and why I'm looking at what we can do with regards to, or rather than what the rumours are. I understand what you're saying there. Shoot the Dog was about Blair being Bush's dog. Oh, okay. Thank you, Snorky. I understand. Lovely. What's next? Oh, talking about ignorance and wishful thinking. Here's something else that's being kept alive by ignorance and wishful thinking. The banks. Because they've cut their rates, the interest rates, to zero, actually. Yeah, it is. The United States goes to almost zero and launches huge stimulus program. You might remember I did a video about it. 1.5 trillion was pumped into the Fed the other day. Well, they've put some more in. The US has cut interest rates to almost zero and launched a $700 billion stimulus program in a bid to protect the economy from the effect of coronavirus. It's so funny. It is so funny that they're injecting they've injected 1.5 trillion the other day, just like that, as I said. Now there's another 700 billion gone into it. That's 2.2 trillion. That's, I think that's around $6 trillion they've pumped into it since September. 6 trillion. Free college would cost about 37 billion. Ending homelessness in America would cost about 20 billion. These are, I know that I'm saying billion here, but these are honestly drops in the ocean compared to 700 billion and 1.5 trillion. Yet they're, in a few days, boom, straight, 2.2 trillion. This whole thing is being kept alive by ignorance and wishful thinking. This system has to fucking go. It's the problem. Continue with this article. It is part of a coordinated action announced on Sunday in the UK, Japan, Eurozone, Canada and Switzerland. I'm going to get to this. It's on my Twitter. I haven't got it set up, so you'll have to bear with me while I go and find it. Because I read this and I couldn't understand a goddamn word. I couldn't understand a goddamn word of it. Find it. Remember to cut this, Gordon, before you drop it. That was funny. Somebody's actually changed the logo of the Democratic Party on Google to a rat. I'm assuming it would change back by now. Where are we? Can't find it now. I have to find it and put it and add it in later. I'll edit this video. I'll cut it together. So yeah, they've put another 700 billion into the economy. That's what, 2.2 trillion into the stock market, rather. That's 2.2 trillion over the last few days. Nobody's saying how you're going to pay for that. Now you're going to say, where's this money come from? Nobody's saying, well, you could have paid for Medicare for all with that. Nobody's saying that, of course. They're just going to keep putting money into it. It's an endless, bottomless pit. If you're wondering, how can they get away with this? Why are they doing it? How can they just print this money? Why is it that we're facing this financial crash, and nobody seems to know what they're doing, and they all seem to, the whole system seems to be totally messed up and not fit for purpose? Then I understand it. I really do. In fact, there's an episode of South Park that explains it, called Margaritaville. It's about the 2008 financial crash. Stan was trying to take back a margarita machine that his dad had bought on on hire purchase before the financial crash in 2008. Go and watch it. If you haven't watched it already, go and watch it. These people at the top don't know what they're doing. This is a massive Ponzi scheme. It's a massive Ponzi scheme that's running the world. That's our financial system that's running the world. It's a Ponzi scheme. They've ran out of money, so they went behind closed doors. They cut a chicken's head off. They put it on a roulette wheel, and whenever the chicken finally fell, that's what they did. Oh, stimulus package. Print some money, put it in the stock exchange. Oh, quantitative easing. They don't know what they're doing. They've got no answer to this. They've got no answer. This is going to go on and on and on and on and on. Why? Because it's the system that's broken. Or rather, it's fixed. Fixed so that all the money goes to the top, and you and I never see it. Sooner or later, the world's going to realise that we don't need central banks. We really don't. Thanks for the super chat, Kathy. That's a wicked sticker as well. Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for all the people who sent me a little bit yesterday. I had literally £9 in my bank account yesterday, and people have sent me a bits over, so I've been able to keep up with the bills, etc. But I understand that people are really struggling at the moment. So if you have any spare, then please help me out. If not, keep it yourself. It's going to be tough times in the next few months. I really understand that. I'm done for the night, everybody. That's everything I wanted to cover. I hope you really enjoyed the live stream. I certainly did. It's I'm enjoying going live. I'm going to go live again tomorrow. I'll go live at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It's between 7 and 8 o'clock, everybody, and I'll do a cook along a gourd. Might as well. It's my fucking channel. I can show you me cooking. Show you my cooking it's not exactly the way I do chicken curries now. It's the quick way. So if you can get any goldfish curry paste, get the ordinary and the extra spicy, and we'll cook along together tomorrow. Show you how I do my curries. They're great. Thanks, everybody. I absolutely love you all. There's an hour gone. Wonderful. I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm just going to keep going live, everybody, during this lockdown. I'm going to keep going live and keep speaking truth to power, and suggest you too. What do you reckon, Els? What do you reckon? Yeah? Are you enjoying the lockdown? Is that your ball? Is that your ball? Take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe.